Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and as always, we're here on Wednesdays from 8 to 10 to bring something to you that we think is of interest and to engage with you in a conversation. A conversation sometimes is a little heated, but nevertheless an important conversation as we continue to build out the architecture of our democracy and continue to encourage freedom of expression and a good, healthy dialogue between our people. This is a show where we exchange views, we share information, and we emphasize accuracy. We say to our callers all the time, you need not agree with me, the host, or with anything said on this program, but we ask always that we be respectful of each other and respectful to the standards set here at VON Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. The voice of Nevis. This is straight talk across the narrows on the mark, which has become a fixture here in the Federation and in the wider region and world over the past 15 years. We're grateful to be here, and I get into the show, and at the top of the show I want to express heartiest congratulations to all of the students who graduated today from the Charlestown Secondary School, my alma mater. I was there today for the graduation. I regret and apologize to the students and staff that I could not be at the 3 o'clock graduation for the sixth form college. I had some pressing matters that kept me away. Initially this morning I had planned to be there, but the exigencies of office are what they are, and I could not make it. However, I am advised that all has gone well, and I want to congratulate not only the graduates from the sixth form, but also those from the secondary school as well. I was particularly impressed this morning with the efficiency with which everything was done, the way that the young people presented themselves, and one thing stuck with me from the valedictorian address that we had from a Miss Barrett, if I recall correctly, who was the best student, and she said something to the effect, I would paraphrase, that she wants to assure us that Nevis is in good hands. And I felt very proud to hear that, and somebody said that in a few years she might well be the Premier of Nevis, and I say, to God be the glory. I trust and hope that what they're saying comes true, and that a lot of these young people look to politics and look to public service as a way to contribute to this, the island of their birth. Nevis has given a lot of us much, and it is for us, therefore, to seek to say what we can give back to Nevis. Let me, at the outset as well, send birthday greetings to Lloyd, are you listening to me, Lloydie? Mr. Lloyd Payne, better known to many as Bucko. He's right in New York. Lloydie, I'm understanding that you're celebrating on the 5th of March. Your daughter Bernie and the entire family, they've asked me to wish you a happy birthday. I hope you're listening, and if you are, please know that we love and cherish you very much. We hope that you enjoy your birthday when it comes, and that you have many, many more birthdays. Happy birthday to you from of course, the missus and the children and the grandchildren and the entire extended family and all of us here in Nevis. Certainly, I know the whole of Bath Village would want to wish you a happy birthday as well. So happy birthday to Lloyd today in New York. It just tells you through the power of the internet. We are streaming all over the world, and so persons are listening to us wherever they are. So wherever you are tonight, good evening to you, and welcome to another edition of On the Mark. We will be here with you until 10 o'clock. We will at some point open the lines and take your calls. You know, if I'm wearing a mask, it means I have a guest. And so, without further ado, let me welcome my guest who's here. He's now no stranger to On the Mark. He chooses this platform to come regularly to share important information with us. And so I hand things over to him so he could introduce himself. He will be with us for the first 25 minutes or so to share information with us about upcoming events. And I hope we can have a bit of a chat in that time. And then he's going to leave and we will get into some other matters. And so I turn the show over to you, sir, so you can introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
All right, good evening, everyone, and I am happy, Mr. Premier, to be here. My name is Mario Philip, and I'm here on behalf of the Ministry of Health and Gender Affairs, specifically the Department of Gender Affairs, and we are always happy to be here on the mark. And I thank you so much, Honorable Premier, for the warm welcome and for accommodating us. As we have big events rolling around, we like to get the message out, and we thank you for allowing us to do so. And this evening, we are here because this is the month of March, and I want to say Happy New Month. happy March to everyone. But there's something very special about March. In March, we celebrate International Women's Day on the 8th of March, to be particular. It's on the 8th, Tuesday the 8th would be celebrated around the world as International Women's Day. And I want to say, of course, since we started the show with greetings, I also want to say something about a special lady that celebrates in the month of March, and that is the Honorable Hazel Brantley Williams, the Junior Minister of Health and Gender Affairs. So I know that she is listening, and I want to say congratulations, happy birthday, belated birthday. It was yesterday, and we celebrated with you, and we are happy that you're celebrating in such a special month. And March being celebrated as the month for women, here of course in Nevis, as we like to do it at the Department of Gender Affairs, we don't just celebrate the particular day that the rest of the world recognize. We say, you know, our men in November and our women in March, they deserve a whole month of activities for us to recognize the good work that the people of Nevis do. And of course, in Women's Month, we're looking at the work that women do to contribute to our society. And so, Mr. Premier, we have a number of activities, and the first one is my appearance here to get the word out. And then on Sunday the 6th of March we will be having a church service at the Church of God of Prophecy, and that's at 10 a.m. and we invite everyone to, if you can, come on out and praise the Lord with us as we give thanks and we start the month off right. And then on Monday the 7th of March, we will be having the commissioning of a gender-based violence mural. This mural is a commemorative mural. We've been doing a number of murals around the island starting in 2020. And so we did one in 2020, one in 2021, and we're commissioning this one in 2022. It's a little bit different. It's a commemorative mural, and last year we celebrated in the month of November the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and that was the 30th anniversary of that international commemoration. And so we decided to commission a mural that would recognize the persons who would have lost their lives to gender-based violence over the past 30 years. And so that mural is located on the wall of the David Freeman Center in Gingerland. It's right next to the one that we commissioned in November. And so it would stand as a reminder in the communities that gender-based violence not only affects women, even though we're doing the commissioning in Women's Month, but it affects our entire community here in Nevis. And so it would stand there to remind people this is a serious matter, and even as we look to celebrate, we must also look back and recognize that there is work to be done to ensure we keep everyone in our community safe. And then on the following day, that's Tuesday the 8th, the actual day, International Women's Day, we celebrate that day under the theme Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And that theme, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow, it sends the message that if we don't look at each gender as equal and having value and having a special contribution to the growth of our nation, then we would fall short of sustaining ourselves in the future. And so that is one of the prerequisites for us to reach our sustainable future that we hope for. And so that's the message, Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. And that day, of course, there would be the address by the minister. There would also be a recording of Street Beat. And Mr. Premier, this is a little project that we're working on at the Department of Gender Affairs. It's as we talk about getting the message out to the communities, when we do Street Beat, we take the conversation to the general public. And so we have interviews with persons just on the street, just random persons. We walk up to them and we find out their views on different gender-related topics, and whether it be gender-based violence or equality or women in the workplace, whatever it is, we just have a chat about it and hear what the people have to say. And of course, we find a lot of good answers, solutions. They have encouraging words to share, and so we want to get that started. We've done a few recordings. We're going to be doing one on International Women's Day, and so the public have that to look forward to when they begin to hear, and so we expect them to hear later this month. And then on that day, we also have an award ceremony. And in this award ceremony, there would be 5 girls and 5 women who would be awarded. And they would have done work related to the theme, which is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. So these are women who would have worked in the area of sustainability, whether it be in agriculture or in preserving the environment and that sort of thing. We would have search them out for their hard work, their dedication, and we want to ensure that they are recognized for the good work that they have been doing so that they don't get weary in well doing. And that would be on the 8th, which is at the actual day itself. And the Department of Sports on the 9th, they would be having their awards ceremony for women in sports. And so we are happy to partner with them. And in fact, we are doing quite a bit of collaboration with the Department of Sports, because on the 12th and 13th of March, that's Saturday the 12th and Sunday the 13th of March, there are some exciting events that are going to be taking place. We have women's cricket and domino tournament on the Saturday the 12th and 13th. And while we have, I think the teams for cricket are already organized, and of course they would have to be practicing, and they want to take home the prizes that are the attractive prizes. The winning team would get $1,000, the runner-up $700, and so they're already set, those cricket teams, and I am excited to see those the women do their best at cricket, and so that is going to be exciting. But along with that, we would be having domino competition, the domino tournament, and the registration is still open, and so anybody out there, it's a women's competition, you come along and sign up. First prize is $1,000, second $700, and the third $500, fourth $250. Registration is just $50 per team. So you bring your team along and you can register, win some attractive prizes, have a good bit of fun on Saturday the 12th, Sunday the 13th. Those on both days, we begin at noon at the E.T. Willett Park. That's the place to be on that weekend, and you can't afford to miss it on the following weekend. Friday, since gender is everybody's business, the Department of Gender Affairs, we decide that we are going to do some business. And so we are going to be having a gender expo where we showcase the business talent of women and men on the island of Nevis. So, Mr. Premier, from the time that COVID came around, we had, of course, an issue with a number of persons losing their jobs. It, of course, is true that most of the sector that was hardest hit is the tourism sector, and in that sector, the majority of workers are women, and so we at the department we decided to try and address that their issues that they would have been facing, and we sought to retool them. We sought to give them courses in business so that they could look to open businesses. Small businesses, they can find a need in their community and get something going to get some income. I was going to say additional income, but in many cases the persons had no income at all because of the downturn in the economy, because of the pandemic. And so we would have had a number of successful business boot camps and skills training workshops. And so on that day, Friday the 18th, at the conference center at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park, we would be having our Gender Expo 22, and it's under the theme Inspire, Empower, Retool, and Connect for sustainable tomorrow. And so on display you'd have basket weaving, fruit and vegetable carving, fish pot making, all these exciting businesses based. It's showcasing the talent that the people of Nevis have, and as I said, it's not only women. I think there would be a majority of women, because they would have made up the majority of the different courses that we would have offered, but there would be also men showcasing their talent and the businesses that they would have come up with and started. And there are also persons who would have soap making, floral arrangement, honey production, farming, and much more. Of course, we can't talk about sustainability without farming, because we have to feed ourselves. And so that's the Gender Expo on the Friday the 18th. And then on the 24th, we have a panel discussion in collaboration with Gender Affairs St. Kitts, and the topic is St. Kitts Nevis Women and Sustainable Development. That would be live on NTV and ZIZ. It would be at 10 a.m. so you can't afford to miss it. It would also, of course, stream on the social media channels, that's YouTube and Facebook. And coming down to the end, we have the SKN Moves Nevis chapter, the Half Island Road Relay Run, and that is put on, of course, by SKN Moves, and the head person, the lead person on that is Miss Sheila. She is in the health promotion unit, and she would be the one to contact. You can call her at 469-8010, or of course you can call 469-5521 and ask for health promotion. Sheila James is leading the charge with SKN Moves Half Island Road Relay. Now, she told me that it is not for amateurs. So, because I was saying, I'm eager to go and, stretch my legs a bit, but she said it's for athletes who have been training. And so I just said, I just sat back down in my seat and said, okay, Sheila. And so if you're an athlete out there, you're part of a club, you've been putting in the work. And out there, of course, the event is fully sponsored, and so there are a number of cash prizes and trophies to be won. And that's on the 24th, Thursday, the 24th of March. You don't want to miss. Saturday, the 26th of March. You don't want to miss the Half Island Road Relay. So get your team together, register, and registration is still open. It won't be for much longer, and you can go on and see what your team could make. You can make first place. That would be awesome. And then Sunday, the 26th. That's the day after. We're switching it up a bit, and we have an event specifically for teens and young adults. It's music and a message, different shades of pink. Well, not different shades of pink, different shades, right? So there would be that would be out a bit later. The specific colors that we'll be repping, but it's all about it's a live up concert, and of course music, positive messages, and that would be at the Malcolm Gishad Recreational Park as well. And our final event is a very important one. It's the third biennial regional forum on the Sustainable Development Goals, and as that happens every 2 years, we missed a year due to the pandemic, but we are back with the third in 2022, and we would have key persons from across the federation. There would be speakers from across the region, because they would be coming in via virtual means, and there would also be attendees from across the region who would be joining us on Zoom or other platforms. And so it's a discussion as to how we can practically implement measures to ensure that we attain here on Nevis and across the region the Sustainable Development Goals. Again, International Women's Day is on the 8th, and we're celebrating the entire month for women, and the theme is Gender Equality Today for Sustainable Tomorrow. And I know personally that the women of Nevis, they have much to give, that they have been doing quite a bit, and we are setting this time apart to empower our women further, to ensure that we equip them and encourage them so that they can continue to make some serious changes and progress here on the island of Nevis. So not only our women, but also our girls. We have to ensure that we don't just lump them together, but place emphasis on our girls as well.
Myra, thank you very much. I let you speak. You've been speaking for about 15 minutes or so. And I did that because I wanted to get a sense of the breadth of activity and the breadth of work that was being done. I think that I would want to start by commending you, commending the minister, who I neglected to say happy birthday again. She celebrated yesterday, I recall.
Yes, yes.
And we did say happy birthday. She was lavish with birthday greetings yesterday, and I should have said so on the show. So, Madam Minister, if you're listening, please forgive me. Happy birthday again to you, and I trust and hope you had a wonderful time. But she has been leading the charge in relation to gender. I think that the team has done an excellent job. You have come here time and time again talking about various activities. I'm particularly impressed with the efforts aimed at preventing, curbing, getting rid of whatever language you want to use, the gender violence or gender-based violence, because that is something that has bedeviled this society and bedeviled Caribbean society and other societies as well. And I think that messaging, that people must understand that violence of any kind is not the answer, and belittling each other, abusing each other, because sometimes it's not just physical, it could also be mental, it can be financial in terms of withholding support that is necessary, that we really ought not to engage in that, and that it should be condemned.
Yes.
And I think from all levels it should be condemned. And so I'm inviting persons to come out and to support, sometimes to support by their presence, the fact that they too condemn this type of behavior. And we reflect, for example, people may say, oh, well, you know, my man doesn't hit me, or whatever the case may be, but you may have fellas out there who have children that they're not supporting.
Yeah.
And so that puts additional pressure on households, sometimes which are single mother
That is true.
households, and that could be a form of abuse, in the sense that you know, for people who are agonizing daily, how am I going to get this child to school, how am I going to do that, when the fathers are not playing their role. And not that I'm singling out fathers per se, however, we do know that disproportionately the problem is a male problem, in the sense of men who engage in certain activity which is unhelpful. So I'm particularly pleased about that, but I'm also pleased about the fact that you have decided to honor, as you say, women and girls.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important. Just today we had a conversation in the cabinet about doing more, you know, honoring our people. We have a way, it seems, that after our people pass is when we tend to say, well, okay, they were great, and we try to honor them. And while that does happen on occasions, because it's unavoidable, I think maybe as a society we need to reorient our thinking and start to say how we could honor people while they're alive. There's an old adage about giving people their flowers while they're alive.
And the thing is, Mr. Premier, when you do that while they're alive, not only are they able to see it, but they're able then to be spurred on, you know, to do even more.
To do more, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm quite pleased with the roster that you've laid out and the events, and I join you and certainly your minister and the government and the entire department in inviting persons to participate and to come out. I think sometimes a lot of thought and effort goes into these events, and sometimes people just like, oh, it's another government event. But I think these have a certain gravitas, if you will, a certain depth to them that is absolutely critical as we try to reshape the society, because that's really what we're trying to do.
Yes, definitely. And one thing you mentioned is that the economic impact, you know, when there's financial strain, it can lead to persons being vulnerable, and when you're vulnerable, you can be taken advantage of. And we see that a lot, and that's one of the reasons why we've tailored a number of our activities and programs over the years to try to retool people and give them a leg up, you know, in terms of being able to provide for themselves. And that's one of the reasons, as you mentioned, we don't want people to just say, okay, this is an event happening. We want them to come, and especially on Friday the 18th, the Gender Expo, because we'll have persons who would have retooled over the past few years, and we want the public to come out and support their businesses, right? They're doing a lot of exciting, novel things, and we want, you know, some of them, they're doing things that may have been done before, but then they're using local products all Nivision products, right? So, that's something we want to support.
Of
we want to
course.
get behind, and so we want them not to become discouraged. But we want, when they see the public coming out to support, and this is a chance for them to get even some investors potentially. We want the public to embrace what's happening and push them forward so that they can then create further impacts in their communities.
And we've had, I think, as a government, tried our best, even through the pandemic. I remember that we put some $5 million available specifically to target women and young people, but women of any age, and we said men below 35. So really, a woman at 60 or 70 who had a business idea could come forward. But the idea really was to empower more women and more youth to own their own businesses. And whilst the money was relatively small in terms of seed money, we said up to $100,000 that they could borrow at a low interest rate. The idea really was to provide some seed capital without all the paperwork, because when you go to the bank you need collateral, you need to show that your insurance is up to date and all that, and so it's a little off-putting. We wanted to create that through SIDU in partnership with the Taiwanese, something different, and the uptake has been quite good. In fact, I would guess that some of the very entrepreneurs who will be displaying their goods and offering goods for sale might well have benefited from that program. And so I think that what we see here are different aspects of this government working together to try and, as we say, reshape our society, and to say to our people that we need to change some of the thinking. We need to look at societal norms in a different way, and what might have applied when I was a boy 50 plus years ago is not now acceptable. Things that we might have taken as, say, oh, this is part of our culture, is not now acceptable. And so we need to adjust and to ensure really that in our society, every person, every single person in our society has a place and feels comfortable in our society. And that, I think, is what we're trying to do, and that is why I'm urging the public to really come out and support. I think the time is up. Mario, I don't know if you have any final words, if you want to say anything additionally, but please do. I'll hand it over to you again.
Well, Honorable Premier, I just want to say thank you again, and to remind everyone that on March the 8th, Tuesday, March the 8th, we celebrate International Women's Day. And one thing I neglected to say, but I'm saying it now, write it down, the colors that we'll be repping would be yellow and purple. So you have a choice. You must be able to grab that somewhere. And if you don't have it in your closet, you have a few more days left on March the 8th. Rep yellow and purple. Show your support for women. It's International Women's Day, and the entire month we are having a focus on women as we celebrate and we recognize them. Don't miss the events, and stay tuned. Log on to our social media platforms to be updated as to what's happening as we celebrate Women's Month with the Department of Gender Affairs.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That was young Mario Philip, and he was here to share some information about what the Gender Affairs is doing for the month of March. And so we're very grateful, Mr. Philip. Thank you for coming. And we will now look at some other matters as Mr. Philip makes his exit. So very grateful to him for that information. And as I said, I think excellent information that keeps coming, and excellent work that is being done. And I certainly urge our people to go out and to take advantage of the various events and investments in our people that's being done. Now, I wanted to take a few moments to have a discussion with the public. I can take my mask off now. I don't think the person in charge here at Vaughan on the night shift is going to be too upset, because they're in a booth away from me, so I could take my mask off. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have all been aware that we have had a situation where the opposition in Nevis naturally has ramped up their campaign. It appears that from some quarters they've been told that an election is in the offing, and so they ramped up their campaign, and that's fine. Everybody needs to get ready, because we don't know when the election will come. But I have found it particularly troubling that part of this campaign that the opposition is waging is an all-out attack on our healthcare system. And I don't think it can be construed as anything else. Yes, they continue to say that this government has not invested in healthcare. I think that that is demonstrably false, and that the facts will show that it is demonstrably false. But as part of that attack from the opposition here in Nevis, we have found, unfortunately, that the healthcare system itself has been subjected to odium, contempt, and ridicule. And we think that that is very unfortunate, because I say all the time that sickness awaits all of us. Sickness awaits all of us. And because sickness awaits all of us, it behooves us, in my respectful view, to be mindful of the direction that we go in when we speak about our healthcare sector. Because if, God forbid, I were to collapse right now as I speak to you, my first port of call is going to be at the Alexandra Hospital. And so when we start down this road of trying to make politics out of the healthcare sector, trying to attack persons working in that sector, I heard one time, to my chagrin, one of the NRP spokespeople say that people are going to a hospital to die. That's what they're going there to do. To say that for mothers having babies, they have to go elsewhere to sing kits and elsewhere, because if they go to a hospital, the results are not good. And I think that when these things are said, it is very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. We have, it appears, something that has developed now, that whenever somebody dies in the society, the first instinct of the opposition is to seek to say it's the government's fault. Just at my press conference last week, a young NRP fellow there says he's a journalist, but we know he's a political activist of some kind. He comes and he says that 19 persons have passed in Nevis from end-stage renal disease, and do I take responsibility for those deaths? And it may sound trite in terms of a response, but I had to remind him that I am not God. That as Premier of Nevis, I have been given a role to play, elected by the people, but I don't determine life and death. That's a matter for Jehovah God, not for Mark Brantley. Sometimes when people engage in that level of nonsense, it really begs the question, are we an educated society as we claim to be? Because I don't know how people can engage there. Now, people talk about investment. Oh, there's not enough investment in healthcare. And so I would like tonight to put on the table some facts, not fiction, some facts. At the Alexandra Hospital, we have acquired a portable digital ultrasound machine. We have acquired ventilators. We used to have 2, we now have 9. A chemistry analyzer, a hematology analyzer. We've acquired baby warmers, vital signs monitors, hospital beds. Not 1, but 2 brand new ambulances. The first time in the history of this island that we've had 2 new ambulances. And we have PCR testing machines, not 1 but 2, which are now functional and are offering PCR testing at the hospital. I think that that is an incredible effort by us insofar as the Alexandra Hospital is concerned. In public health, meaning what we're doing out in the community at the health centers, we have acquired for our dental clinic 2 portable dental x-ray machines. To fight with mosquitoes, we have acquired a thermal fogging machine. We have bought vaccine refrigerators, an examination couch, patient examination tables. We have acquired 4 generators to ensure that our health centers, if there's a loss of power, we don't lose medication, etc., that we have refrigerated there. We have an ASCAN ultrasound machine, a tonometer, which I'm told is to treat glaucoma, and we've acquired a laser ophthalmoscope. I go on. I'm flicking through my phone, so please bear with me. Insofar as our specialists are concerned and our personnel is concerned, this government has hired 3 physical therapists, 2 from the Philippines and 1 from Cuba. We've hired 3 additional specialists 1 internist, 1 anesthesiologist, and 1 OBGYN. We've recruited 7 nurses, 5 from Philippines, 1 from India, 1 from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We've hired recently 5 Nivision nurses. We've hired a radiographer from Cuba. And we have supported financially 2 local nurses pursuing master's degrees in Jamaica. 1 in theater techniques and 1 as a nurse anesthetist. We have 2 nurses who have just finished midwifery at the CFBC in St. Kitts. And we have 3 who have entered in January of this year. 8 local nurses are currently enrolled in the Bachelor of Nursing program. 6 are currently enrolled in the Nursing Assistant program. And 3 are enrolled in the midwifery program. All local nurses who come through either the Human Resources or Ministry of Health are provided with financial support from this government insofar as their training is concerned. In terms of infrastructure in health, under this government, we have renovated and upgraded all health centers on Nevis. We have upgraded the Flamboyant Home for the elderly. We have put in a new kitchen at the Flamboyant Home. We have a new hospital main kitchen project which is ongoing and nearing completion. We have upgraded our morgue facilities to allow autopsies to be done. All these years we couldn't do an autopsy. We can now do so at our morgue here. We have transformed the gatehouse at our hospital to a respiratory clinic. We have built a double port garage for our 2 brand new ambulances. We've upgraded our private wards, and now some serve as isolation units for purposes of COVID and other infectious diseases. And we are in the process of constructing the new hospital wing, which is ongoing. We don't stop there. We have a program here that we are very proud of. And we're very proud of it because not even in St. Kitts is this program mirrored. And St. Kitts, of course, has vast resources, largely from the Citizenship by Investment program, which is not available to us here in Nevis. And so, we have a program where individuals who are uninsured, or even if insured, who require funding upfront, because we understand a lot of the insurance companies are saying that they will reimburse but not spend the money upfront. So you have to have the money if you have to go. People who have to travel overseas for care. People who are indigent and unable to sustain themselves insofar as medical care is concerned. This government has a program where we are prepared, once the means test is done and the person is qualified, to give up to $10,000 per individual in relation to care that they require. We have helped hundreds of individuals over the past few years who have come requiring care in some form or the other. To put it in context for you, in 2018, your government spent $622,256.69 on this program. In 2019, we spent $589,922.73 on this program. In 2020, we spent $289,456.40 on this program. In 2021, we spent $459,625.20 on this program. And so far for 2022, we have spent almost $150,000 already on this program. The total to date is over $2.1 million that we have spent in terms of direct assistance to our people needing medical assistance overseas. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have taken the time to give a little snapshot. A little snapshot. The reason for that is sometimes when I listen to the rhetoric and what passes as politics in the country, and this wholesale attack, I don't know who's advising the NRP, but they seem to feel that healthcare is the way to go insofar as they're mounting a political campaign. I'm saying that the evidence doesn't support that. The evidence supports the fact that this government, particularly during the pandemic, doubled down in terms of its investment in healthcare. We had a team here from Cuba, nurses and doctors. They were not free. We had to pay them. In fact, in terms of a direct spend on COVID, we spent over $900,000 in 2020 and well over $1 million in 2021. We had to reallocate resources to the Ministry of Health. We had to buy PPE, personal protection equipment. We had to pay for testing. Just today, the Minister of Health and the Cabinet reported to us that we owe nearly $250,000 that we have to find to pay for testing because, of course, prior to us being able to test at our own hospital, we were sending our tests over to our sister island of St. Kitts. That has been the reality. And sometimes when I look at individuals who distort this reality for some perceived political gain. I recall recently a young woman passed away. And I don't know if this candidate for the NRP even said to the family, I am sorry that you have suffered a loss. And I extend my condolences. Before she took to social media to say that the CCM was at fault, the government was at fault for the woman's death. In fact, she sent me a message. I don't usually keep messages, but I kept this one in my phone. So shocked was I that she sent me a message and she said, I had blood on my hands. That's what she said to me. And I learned from other colleagues that she sent the same message to them. And what was her argument? Her argument was that there is something wrong with the water supply. That is why this lady would have passed. That is her argument. No basis for it. Just something she pulled out of her, let me say, her armpit. Trying to be nice here. I understand that only the best will do here at Vaughan. She pulled something out of her armpit and said that the water supply was somehow contaminated. And that's what this woman put out to the world. Somebody who says that they are a serious candidate and want to lead people. That we are responsible for putting contaminated water into homes, and as a result, this lady would have passed away, and therefore I have, as Premier of Nevis, and the government has, blood on its hands. And then she went and called the family and said to them, I must go on radio to talk about it and create some furor in the country, not realizing, or perhaps not caring, that the family is in mourning. They've just lost a loved one. They're not interested in you and your petty foolish politics. They are in mourning. They've just lost a loved one. And sometimes when people are in that state, what they want are people who have some empathy, not people who are willing to use them and their grief for perceived political gain. And I recall that in response to this foolish statement made by this individual, who I never saw the foolish individual, that one of her own wrote and corrected her and said, no, the water consumed in this particular area is the same water consumed from all the way in Zion come down. So it cannot be the water. And I said, oh, one of her own. And this is what I keep talking about. This tendency to use people's grief, use people's suffering for political gain. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, as the Premier of Nevis, I wish that I had a way to remove all suffering, remove all pain, remove all sickness, remove all death. I wish I had every piece of equipment that was available and known to modern medicine. I wish I had every doctor and every discipline that was available. But it is not so, and it can never be so. And we must in this country recognize that even in the richest and most resourced countries in the world, even in those countries, guess what? People still die from illness. People still die from illness. It is a good book. The Bible, if you believe in it, speaks to this appointment. There is allotted to every man a time to die. So this constant effort to seek to accuse members of government of causing people's death, I think it is worse than low. And I've been in opposition. I fought my way out of opposition and into government. You know why? Because we came to our people with credible, sensible arguments. Discussion about how we could do things better. And it really bothers me. If I'm speaking in this way, it bothers me because we should not use the suffering of our people to seek to get some kind of political mileage from their grief. And this constant effort by the NRP, anytime somebody passes away, to engage in this nonsensical and frankly absolutely irreverent and uncaring rhetoric, it is so unfortunate. And that is what you have come to. And I call on you to do better. I call on you to do better. One of the beating horses is this whole issue about dialysis. As if they're saying to the people of Nevis, if dialysis was being offered at the hospital in Nevis, then there will be no deaths from renal failure. Well, if that was the case, then nobody in St. Kitts should die from renal failure, nobody in St. Martin or Anguilla, nobody in the great United States or anywhere else in the world where dialysis is available. I have asked the question, is there any patient from Nevis requiring dialysis being denied it? And has this government not stood full square with our patients from Nevis in being dialyzed at our sister hospital JNF in St. Kitts? So what really is the debate? We have made it very clear that when the wing at the hospital is completed, there will be a dialysis unit there. But you see, that is not enough for some. So anybody who has kidney failure and requires dialysis, anybody who is put in that difficult life and death position, the NRP pounces, or somehow it is the government's fault. It is the government's. And I could understand the argument if it was that these persons were being denied care. I could understand. Perhaps there would be an argument, but that is not the case. What the debate is whether the care should be in St. Kitts or it should be available in Nevis. That's all. Because they're getting care, hemo, and peritoneal dialysis on St. Kitts. And in many cases with the assistance of the government. And I have pointed out that what the NRP tried to do in 2013, in fact in my press conference I got the date wrong. The dialysis machines too arrived here on April 1st, All Fools Day, 2013. I think in the press conference I said 2014. So we had just got into office. I am hearing this constant alarming story being put out there on behalf of the NRP that the former minister, Hensley Daniel, the former Minister of Health and Deputy Premier, who apparently spearheaded the purchase of these two dialysis machines, that he had a plan. He had a plan. They said he purchased a whole turnkey operation that came, that some man, a Mr. Gardner, was supposed to come, that they were in advanced discussions with Mr. Gardner to come to, I guess, control this dialysis center with two machines, bring nurses, I suppose, from the Virgin Islands where Mr. Gardner supposedly is, and then Mr. Gardner is going to train people, and Mr. Gardner, and this whole plan was surrounded by Mr. Gardner. Well, I have said it publicly before, and I say it now again. When the CCM got into office in 2013, And those machines arrived on April 1st, 2013. I was the new Minister of Health, and I asked the obvious question: where was the supporting information? Tell me, has anybody been trained as a dialysis nurse in Nevis? Answer: no. Do we have access to a vascular surgeon to put the shunts in? Answer: no. Do we have the services of a nephrologist? Answer: no. Do we have anybody trained to treat the water, handle the water system? Because if the water is contaminated, people will die. Answer: no. All we had was 2 machines that showed up in a container. When we did the costing on those machines, what we got should have been no more than just around $65,000 US. But the records will show that we paid just over $225,000 for what we got in 2013. I say no more on that, except that we may want to inquire what the rest of the money was for. That's what we got. We had no supporting infrastructure for dialysis when the NRP purchased these 2 machines. And this mysterious Dr. Gardner, who was the person around which, according to their story, everything revolved. I have said before, and I say now again, I found not one single scrap of paper, not one email. One would have thought that if you're putting something in place so important as dialysis, as the NRP claims they were doing in 2013, that this was something so absolutely critical that they had a plan for, that you would find some documentation in the Ministry of Health, that there would be some emails perhaps between the minister, the PS, Dr. Gardner, somebody, you would find some trail. No. Instead, we found a trail with somebody who was purchasing this equipment, and there are some connections there that I will not get into tonight, but we might need to get into if they continue down this road, because the people from whom the equipment was procured, there were some connections, and those equipment were bought at $225,000 US plus, brought here with no plan. And I challenge anybody from the Nevis Reformation Party, you continue with this nonsense, to bring forward and say, this was the plan. This is where in government, in file X23356, you can find the layout of the plan that we had. There was an exchange of emails that you can look to. Nothing was ever found in relation to this plan. So it's either the minister had the plan, but only had it in his head, or maybe he had a conversation on the phone that we can't verify, but we have not been able. I hear them talking about, oh, there was negotiations. Well, how you negotiate as a government? You negotiate by phone calls? At what point do you document something? Government is a continuum. You have no guarantee that when an election comes, the people are going to favor you again. So you have to leave things there that the next person coming in can pick up, and if it's something worthwhile, run with. But there was nothing. So I can't justify, I can't verify, because I have no evidence that there was any discussion or negotiation going on, because I can't find any paper to support that. And what I have known, being a lawyer for a little while, forget most of it now because I've been in this thing called politics for a few years. But one thing I know is that when people are backed up, they could say anything, you know. One thing about mouth could talk, mouth could say anything, mouth make to talk. But where's the evidence? So we must just accept that NRP had a plan because somebody said that yes, there were negotiations and all this was already figured out. Where's the evidence? None. And I have always remarked that it must be a remarkable thing that a government with any sense of responsibility will invest taxpayers' money to say that they're doing something as fundamental to healthcare as dialysis, and there's no paperwork anywhere. None. So you couldn't pick up and say, well, there was a conversation going on with this person or that person. Let's continue that conversation. There was nothing. And that troubles me. And so my point is, having failed to deliver dialysis, they keep pointing to two machines and say, oh, just plug them in. I remember the debate, you know. Just plug them in. Like it's a refrigerator or TV. In fact, you can't even say TV now because they got smart TV now. I bought a TV that I plug it in and not a thing showing. You got to go and program it. Not that long ago when you plug it in and you twist the antenna one way or the other and you get ABS and ZIZ. No, you got to program the TV now. So even a TV you can't just plug in. But you must just plug in the dialysis machine. And then I guess just plug up people to it. Just to say that Nevis has dialysis. Well, I don't think any responsible government, and I emphasize the word responsible, can act in that way and put people's lives at risk in that way. So what we have done, we've already exposed some nurses to training, and as we get closer to being able to open a dialysis center at Newing, we will unveil our full plans in terms of how we're going to manage that facility. We're not going to be rushed into a situation, because I will tell you, the same people who are now clamoring and saying that Nevis must have its own dialysis center are the same people, the first time that something goes wrong, are going to say, oh, Mark Brantley and CCM and them kill off somebody again, because that has been their narrative. And I have said, and the old people say here, and the old people are always right, they're wise. Don't let nobody give you a basket to carry water in. Don't let anybody give you a basket to carry water in. We are a sensible people. And I think we must stop using healthcare as a gimmick. And them two machines that arrive here, 65,000 that we paid, 225 for, that was a gimmick. And I said, you know, the Lord works in mysterious ways. And things happen sometimes in such a mysterious way. Because here it was that these machines arrived when? All Fool's Day. So all the days in the year they could come, they arrive on All Fool's Day. And to me that was a sign saying, this was really an attempt by NRP to fool everybody. To fool all. All Fool's Day. We have those machines being made in the US, being made available to suppliers in the States. Not NRP, you know, NRP gets something, they say, from Israel. Where you going to find parts and nicks and knacks for that machine? You got to go to Europe, you got to go to Israel. You have Miami right here. No, them not went to America. That's the kind of nonsense that happened. And it looks like now some are intent on rewriting the history and trying to create along the way some feeling in the community that somehow this government has not been investing in healthcare and doesn't care about people. Well, I'm here to tell you that this government cares, not just in words. We care because we've demonstrated that we care. When I look at that over $2 million that this cabinet has approved, that has helped people in this community who needed urgent health care overseas sometimes and could not otherwise afford it. And many people out there listening right now have benefited from that program that has helped so many. So when you say we don't care, we're heartless, we have blood on our hands, I find that those statements are offensive and unnecessary. And I think that if the NRP wants some kind of strategy, they should find a different strategy. Talk about healthcare. How can we make it better? Talk about health insurance. How are we going to fund it? Are you in favor of persons paying a portion of their salary, like we do Social Security, for health insurance? Those to me are the mature conversation we should be having. What is your plan and what is your position in relation to matters such as those? You all realize that the NRP in 2 years has not had a view on vaccination from COVID-19. I sat in my office with the leader of NRP and the sole elected member from the NRP. And I have said so, and I'm not ashamed to say so, that the only thing I didn't do was get down on my knees, how I begged them, please to come on board with us on the vaccination effort against COVID-19. They listened. I believe the meeting was almost 2 hours, I recall. They listened, and then later they sent a letter and tell me, no, we will not cooperate with the government on this matter of vaccination. And to this day, I have not heard a single leader in the NRP encourage divisions to get vaccinated against COVID-19. It's up to you. I could do it if I want. If I don't want, it's up to you. Nobody could force you. In the meantime, many of them went in the dead of night and behind the back and get their vaccination. So you ask the question, oh, so you protected yourself, but you're not encouraging divisions to protect themselves. And I appreciate that the issue of vaccination was a difficult issue, but I'm convinced that we could have done much better in this country on that vaccination front if we were united. If all of us were able to say, listen, vaccines have saved lives all around the world. Polio, measles, mumps, rubella, you name it, yellow fever. Vaccines have saved lives. The idea of vaccination is nothing new. So one would have thought that a responsible opposition would say on these types of issues, let us hold hands with the government. And that's why I beg them to do. They say, Tal, not us. So you will not encourage people to protect themselves from COVID-19. But you come now to lecture us about healthcare and say that we don't care about people? Well, how do you feel as a leader that you went and got your vaccine, but the people you're asking to support you, you refuse to encourage them to go and get theirs? How does that sound? How does it look? Some may call it hypocrisy. That this has been the approach of this NRP. Matters, I feel, where there was an opportunity to rise above the partisanship and say, how can we really fight this thing together? NRP, CCM, you know how good it would have looked to see the leader of NRP and the Premier of Nevis, the leader of CCM, sitting together, speaking to the public, encouraging the public to go and get vaccinated, discussing COVID-19 in a positive way in terms of how we're going to fight it. They asked me for information. I provided information. Every update that I get, I send to the elected member for the NRP. I'm sure she gets tired of me, because sometimes when the updates come late at night, whenever they come, I forward them to her. I have not tried to hide anything. I have invited them to come and see me because I recognize that the opposition had a role to play. But when we asked them, their response was, no, Tal, not us. We're not interested in you on that. You're on your own. That was their response. So ask yourself, are they serious about healthcare? Are they? And if they themselves have gone and got vaccinated in secret, but have refused to say to the division public that you should as well, what does that say about them? What does it say? instead of being a part of the solution. I've heard them on radio and elsewhere. They cuss out the task force. They say, oh, we don't have no epidemiologists. Lord, the word them hard to pronounce. Epidemiologists. And they start the posture that they have so much education and so much knowledge and so much training. And these people who are putting themselves on the line every single minute of every day, that somehow these people didn't know what they're doing. And it was unfortunate, because I believe that this country owes a debt of gratitude that we can never repay to people like CMO Laws, Abdius Samuel, people like Cameron Wilkinson and the others on St. Kitts. But for the island of Nevis, it was the foresight of this government that put in place a local task force. The federal government didn't appoint a task force for Nevis, they appointed a federal task force. But we said no, Nevis needs boots on the ground in Nevis. And I appointed a task force in Nevis headed by Dr. Judy Nisbet. And that task force with persons like Judy Nisbet, Brian Dyer, Paulette Bartlett, and a host of others. We activated the NEOC here in Nevis. And people may not even know that for nearly 2 years some people practically lived over there at Long Point, working every day. Members from the health promotion unit, members from the nursing community, the medical community, working disaster preparedness, working together to keep us safe. And rather than celebrating them, rather than thanking them, rather than seeing how we can support them, some took to these very airwaves here at Vaughan to ridicule them, say they don't know what they're doing, they don't have no plan. All again in an effort for some kind of politics. What kind of politics is that really? Because these are people. And when I look at the height of COVID, when none of us knew what COVID was about, that these were people who went out there and put their faith in God and trust in God and went and did what they thought they had to do to keep you and I safe. We owe them, and we will never be able to repay them. They ran the quarantine centers. They dealt with people coming in. They did all of this, provided advice to the cabinet, guidance to the cabinet here in Nevis, interacted with their counterparts in St. Kitts, and the best NRP could do is criticize them? Really? These are the things, ladies and gentlemen, that are of concern to me and ought to be of concern to you. Because if tomorrow the roles were reversed and the NRP was in government, would COVID have been any easier to deal with? Would COVID have said, boy, NRP Nevis, so we now go there? Let us just skirt around Nevis and go someplace else? COVID would have come the same way. The vaccination effort would have had to have been made the same way. And I am sure that they would have asked you, the public, to go out and get vaccinated, and asked everybody to come on board, the church, the business place, the private sector, come on board. And that's what any responsible government would seek to do. So how come, as an opposition, and therefore theoretically a government in waiting, the only thing they could do on this COVID effort is criticize? Criticize. So I'm asking what passes for political opposition in Nevis at the moment, please leave the healthcare sector alone and leave the attacks to one side. Our doctors and our nurses work under difficult circumstances, but they are delivering quality care to our people. And they have saved lives at our hospital and at our health centers. And I think we ought to celebrate them and what they're doing, rather than the constant effort to denigrate and castigate And every time somebody passes, we jump and say, it's the government fault. Let us try to build rather than destroy. I make a small point before I open the lines and see if anybody's out there who wants to talk to me. I understand that there's a particular candidate for the NRP who was doing some house to house, and that's good. Some people are seeing her for the first time in their life. That's good. But in doing the house to house, the candidate is telling people that she's not NRP. She's not running as any NRP. She's running in her own right, and that she's asking persons to give her a chance in her own right. You know, CCM supporters and the people of Nevis, by extension, are wise. So I'm told that this lady made the argument, and she was asked, well, how come you're saying that because you are a declared candidate for the Nevis Reformation Party? Oh no, I hear nothing about NRP. Tell me nothing about NRP. I'm not NRP. I'm running in my own right. Well, if you're running in your own right, you should be running as an independent. Oh, I didn't have enough time to sort that out. Didn't have enough time to put that in place. So it looks to me like the NRP has become, I don't even know what it is. This reminds me of Bellot old pickup when we used to come from school. And Bellot pickup drove at no more than 6 miles an hour. And sometimes you got about 50 fellas on the back of Bellot pickup. Man used to jump off Bellot pickup, walk for a while, and run back and jump back on. That is how slow Bellot used to drive. And it looked to me like NRPs like Bellot pickup, you know. So I remember Bellot pickup was red. It looked to me like NRPs like Bellot pickup. People just jumping, hopping on this slow boat. Chug, 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 going up the road, just hop in and hop off. Because how could you in good conscience out there as an NRP declared candidate tell people you're not NRP? What are you? But I know what the answer is. They are CCM. And I have already said that in this election coming up, you know, you have in some constituencies 2 CCM candidates. And one NRP friend said to me, he don't know which one to vote for. Because he's NRP, and when he look, he see 2 people from the Concerned Citizens Movement who are going to be on the ballot. He don't know who to vote for. People just jumping on and off a ballot or pick up, chug, 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 going up the road. I don't understand it. But thankfully that is not my problem. They will have to sort that out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 15:15 the hour. We have 45 minutes. Let's see if anybody wants to talk to us. If you do, then call in. We've been talking about healthcare. While I wait for the calls, the phones to come, well, the phone has come already. So let me go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Miss Sheriff, good night.
How are you, my dear?
Well, I'm giving God
Yes.
thanks. Titus 3 verse 1 and 2. Put them in mind to be subjected to principalities and power, to stay magistrates, to be ready to every good work, to speak evil of no man, to be no brawlers, but gentle, showing meekness unto all men. Sympathy is going out to all who lose their loved ones. Culture, good night. Miss Sheriff, I want to know if school not going open for the 5 days. Them 2 days not enough. The children and them not learning how they're supposed to be learning in front of the teachers them. So me think it's time enough for school open now, man. Me not make no joke. Them 2 days there, but them a go to school, them kids not alone. They need to be in front of the teacher. They need to be in front of the teachers them. We need to open up school again.
Well, I think, Carla, you raise a very good point, and I believe that we are going to get there. Very quickly, we're going to get there. As you know, I was just about to say that we've started sports again. That's a good
I'm glad
sign.
you know, so now that they need to go to school.
Right. So I think we're getting there, you know. It's a process, okay?
Yeah.
All right.
What
Thank
happened to my friend?
Which friend?
My friend, and you not call me. Anyhow, you know what I mean.
Okay, I got you. All right,
All right.
no problem.
Good night.
Okay, good night. Yes, so the issue of schools, I think, is school sports. I wanted to report on that. That yesterday, I think we had St. James's Primary. They had their school sports. St. James's Primary and the VOJN, because they're smaller schools, they're allowed to have their sports at their ground, but all the other sports are going to be at the Mondo track. Today, I'm told we have the Cicely Brown Integrated School. They had their sports at the Mondo track. I believe tomorrow is the Joycean Liebert Primary School, I'm told, and we're going to just continue rolling out. But it's good to see sport is back. The children are out, parents are out, teachers are out, really enjoying it, and I believe that really is a signal in Nevis that we're getting back to some sense of normalcy. It doesn't mean that we're out of the woods insofar as COVID is concerned. The government continues to encourage people to get vaccinated, encourage you still in public to wear masks, encourage you still to practice all the good practices that have kept us safe, but we're saying that these are signs that we're restoring some normalcy to the island of Nevis. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, Mark.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I want to talk about the cricket, about Harvey Stapleton, eh?
Yeah.
You then got a 2020 about Harvey Stapleton. You understand?
They're having a 2020 about Harvey Stapleton?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know about that?
No, nobody has said anything to me.
Well, my nephew Richard, right? Give Nevis Cricket Association 60,000 years, right? To hold a cricket association about Harvey Stapleton give 10 wickets in 92 runs. In one end. And they never said that. They only said they must have a stable and never keep a cricket in Harvey Stapleton in 2020, and they think it had to say Harvey Stapleton get 10 wickets in 92 runs. So whatever keep it about me for.
Maybe they're planning to reveal it during the time, during the game. Because I think
game apply all the time and they put it over radio. Me hate over radio and nobody confront me.
But
nobody confront me. Carlisle never confront me. Since me no Carlisle and they never confront me. Shot never confront me. Nobody Carly never confront me. None of them tell me that they will keep things in a Harvey Stapleton name. Me hear Jabba and them that say that they must keep things in a Harvey Stapleton name and me must come around. Me went down there, me talk a little thing already on the radio station, but me never know and me never keep it thing far.
So let me ask you something. Let me ask you, when you take the 10 wicket, who you take them against? What was the team against?
I take them against Think It. I was playing for St. Thomas.
Okay.
And I was 93.
Okay.
Nobody in the world been ever do it yet. No first man in the world ever do it, and Nevis like they don't want nobody know. They must keep me down.
Alright. Okay, well.
We ever like me at Livingston Sergeant, you know. I will be 19 years. Me play cricket in Nevis, and me can't make youth team. I may make a big team. Nevis team, I can't make your team. Probably Willis and them there. And I fight me and I say, me overage. Well, me just 94, 18 years. Me make Nevis team when me 17 years. And me can't make Nevis, me can't make your team.
Alright, well,
that's what them they do to me. And how they don't play cricket, they say they don't play cricket. You have to stay with them, right? And then if I final and semi-final, they don't want to play none of them in a brown hill. When they not play none of me, how they go to play me? And in me one village, they can't play no cricket. They can't play
The final or semi-final?
In a ball again for me. Then I don't know name. Can I keep me name out of the mouth, eh?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the call. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I think that people are well aware that Harvey Stapleton, who just called in there, known to many as Pumby, that he created history when he took 10 wickets, all 10 available wickets in an innings. He's clearly saying that there is a tournament happening in his name, but it appears that he doesn't know enough about it, and that he's claiming that his own exploits are not being promoted enough. So, Harvey, we are well aware here that you took 10 wickets, you created history. I think that I did not know who the team you took it against. I thought you were playing for Nevis, but now you say you played for St. Thomas, and it was against Sinkit. So you took all 10 wickets against Sinkit, and that I think is something to be cherished, something to be memorialized. I myself was not aware that the tournament that is being held is in the name of Harvey Stapleton. I wasn't aware of that. But if that is true, then certainly I could understand your concern about finals or semi-finals not happening in Brownhill. Brownhill, in fact, has one of the better grounds now in Nevis. And in fact, we are putting some plans together now to see how we can better those grounds, including the acquisition of some properties around to give us the room to expand, because we have had some very good reviews about that ground there in Brownhill. Kudos to all the guys, Jabal and Nutsy and everybody else who really have collaborated to do what they do there, the entire team. And of course to the Brownhill cricket fraternity as well. I noticed that young Tyler Martin, for example, has led the way there in terms of management. I know even my good friend the magistrate is very involved in cricket there in Brownhill, and that they have really got involved in a significant way in promoting cricket in Brownhill and advancing the interests of our young cricketers. As a result, I think the team has done well. Brownhill, we see a resurgence of cricket, and the ground is in tip-top condition, and I believe that just as we produced Kezi Archibald, who is now with the West Indies President 11, I anticipate that more youngsters from Brownhill are going to make their way through and into regional teams as well. So we certainly look forward to engaging more with cricket and to promote cricket more. We have some plans, of course, in relation to the various grounds, and we hope to roll those out as we go. So thank you, caller, for that call, and we go back to the phones now and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Honorable Mr. Mark Brantley. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Good evening to you.
Yeah, I'm good too. It's so sad that the guy can't get the honor in his own village. So go to another village, they will honor him. Now, Brother Mark, I heard you speak about somebody accuse the CCM or you as the leader for the passing of someone in the hospital.
Yes.
Because the water was contaminated.
No, that's what they allege.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I will assume, since according to what they said, if their alone water was contaminated and caused the death, it has to be the water that they get in their own house cistern.
No. What was said by this candidate for NRP is that the water that the government is supplying in the pipes is contaminated.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So that is what they said.
Right.
And as I said, one of their own members had to correct and say that is not true. But it only tells me the level of desperation that they continue to engage in to try and use people's grief and tragedy for political mileage.
Right. Well, but Mark, now, who listening, they could pick sense out of nonsense. They accuse the water that people are getting from the government pipe. Well, if they get in the water from the government pipe and one person dies, that shows that the water ain't coming from the government pipe. Because if the water that's coming from the government pipe, that they accuse the government of contaminated water, how many more persons would have died from using the government water? So you see, when people got to go down so low and dirty, just for politics. Something is not so. And they know fully well it is not so, but they're going to go up and give the image that it is bad and wrong, and they know it ain't so. It's just like we have an individual down here and you got one in Nevis too. Both of them used to work for the same department in the government. And the amount of wrong things they did, both of them, that they the pure example of corruption. Them two men, they are the main example of corruption and bad governance when they come on every day abusing and cussing and talking about Timothy. Dr. Harris is bad government, bad leadership. And when they done the swing class on you and say the same thing happening in Nevis, and they got the biggest yamp in the oil. Both of them, they work in the college, this school college down here, and they take money that was not rightfully belongs to them. They pretend that they work for the money and they know they ain't work, but they still go treasury for it every day. And they ain't talking about that, but they're going to talk about you and Dr. Harris as leaders, about the country ain't running good and it could have go better, and this and that needs to be done. So I want to say, Brother Mark, people should not go down so low and dirty for the sake of politics. Because one man called in a time on the radio said that politics is of the devil. And he was in politics for 30-something years. And he come out of it because it's of the devil. When he ain't gone back in, he fenced it up and he got all the politics in his heart. Every day. And when he done, he got take up God word. Read God word. And when he done put on God word, it's a lot of bad word behind God word. But it's a good thing God ain't had nobody to help him when he come to judge this world, Because some people believe only some got sin and some ain't gonna sin. But we're gonna be surprised. They're gonna be surprised to hear when God tell them who present themselves to the world that they are holier than thee. God say, okay, you go there. You're not worthy to come here by me. Brother Mark, thank you. I'll come back again. Good night, Cutie.
Thank you very much, brother. I truly appreciate it. And, as always, you make some excellent points. I really appreciate you being a part of this show over the years. In fact, I read the comments. I think that you should know that the show, of course, is broadcast. It goes live on social media. And I see some people don't seem to feel comfortable unless you call in, because they always ask, how come this gentleman has not called in? So thank you very much. And, you and Cutie, you all are, I don't know, a beautiful couple. That's what I could call you all, because Cutie always look out for you and you always look out for Cutie. You all always using my show to send messages to each other. So I'm grateful for the participation. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to On The Mark. It is 9:30. It means we have half hour left. The numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. If you want to be a part of this show, let's go straight back to the phones. Good evening, you're On The Mark.
Hello, good evening, Premier Brantley.
Good evening to you, my brother.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
All right, Premier Brantley, in the past maybe 4 or 5 weeks, I've made 3 different appointments to see you, but I was told by your secretary that you would give me a call, but until now, I have not received any call.
Okay.
I don't know whether you have an explanation.
Well, I don't know that you were looking for me, so that is my explanation. But now that you have said so, to me and to the world, I will call you when I'm done.
Okay. So you didn't receive the message from the lady then?
I did not receive a message that you were looking for me, no. I must confess my secretary sometimes sends a memo setting out all who would have called. But I confess that I do not sometimes get the time to look at that memo because I'm being busy. But she did not specifically tell me that you were trying to reach me. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, since you're on the air with me, that I myself need to reach you on a matter. So I did not get that memo. I'm sorry.
Okay. Bill Brantley, you were talking earlier about the dialysis machine. The one that was imported here in 2013? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, and you were saying that the machine was imported here, was bought and brought here, but proper mechanism wasn't put in place, and also proper personnel wasn't trained to operate the machine.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that might have been the case, but, sometimes there are different methods that you can approach a situation from. And perhaps, in my mind, what could have happened then is that the incoming government could have moved forward from there and try to move forward by training the personnel and so on, rather than just say that wasn't put in place. I understand that you can't just go ahead and put people on a machine just like that. I understand you and I agree with that. But even in the Bible, you know, the Bible said that some plant, some water, and some weed, and then everybody benefit. So perhaps one person ordered the machine and not understanding fully what should have been in place so that the machine would be proper operative. I understand that. But the incoming government could have moved forward from there and you know, try to train some people and so on and get the mechanism in place. That is what I think.
Well, caller, you are not incorrect, and I agree with you. But again, I say that all we met was two machines.
Yes.
We didn't meet a plan that we could have worked with. What we did, therefore, is that we said we are undertaking this massive project, and we will have a dialysis center in that new wing when we're done.
Yeah.
So we have already exposed nurses to training, and we will put the necessary infrastructure in place to have a proper dialysis center as part of this project. In the meantime, since the dialysis that we needed was being offered on St. Kitts, we have offered our patients the support to go to St. Kitts to be dialyzed over there. So that is what has happened.
What some people might be saying, though,
yes,
it has been maybe a little over 8 years now.
Yes.
Yeah, but anyway, all right, then I hear what you're saying, but you know, that is what people have been saying.
Well, they may be saying that, but again, I ask the question, and that's a question I think ultimately we must ask.
Yes.
You live in Bath Village, and you would like, obviously, to have a supermarket at your doorstep in Bath Village.
Yes.
Because you need to go and shop. Somebody put down a foundation and said they're going to build a supermarket, but it never and has not yet materialized.
Yeah.
You can, however, get food in town at Best Buy, and the government is facilitating you going to Best Buy to get your food. So I continue to ask the question, notwithstanding the obvious time lapse, has anybody who has required dialysis been refused?
Okay, I hear you. And I take that argument too. I'm just saying that some people are saying the timeline, you know, they feel that by now it should have been in place. Anyway, I hear the argument. All right then, Premier Brantley.
Thanks, my brother. And I will call you, okay?
All right.
I apologize to you and I will call you. Thanks. It is 25 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock, and we continue to take your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go straight back to the telephones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Let's go straight back to the telephones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night to you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this measure you're talking about, remember before the government changed, someone they send a trailer or container where you want to sell things there. And I don't know because the government went into a train, they didn't use them. I saw some of them stuff, so it's surprising tonight to hear you saying that. Oh, this to do and oh, that to do, and it ain't get done.
You said somebody sent a trailer. I'm sorry, caller. Somebody sent a trailer of stuff to me?
Not to you, to the hospital, and you all didn't use it.
No, caller. Where are you getting that from?
The baloney talking about.
No, caller. No. Caller, that is not true.
Oh, that's not true. You already use it.
I don't know what you're talking about. Trail of stuff come that we did not use. And this is the problem I have. We can't just make up a story, you know, caller. If you know that we receive a trail of goods, I mean, which hospital, which government would receive a trail of goods that they would not use? Think about it for a moment. We are constantly out there asking people to donate. Even now, if you're hearing my voice and you want to donate to the hospital, we are asking you to do so. So what are you saying? That we got a trail of goods that we did not use? Caller, please. You know, this is a show where we discuss issues in a particular way. And it's important, I think, that all of us who engage on this forum, because it's a big forum listened across the world, we come with something factual. I don't say that we can't disagree, but let's not fabricate stories to bring here. This government never received any trailer load of anything that they did not use. So stop it. Alright? It is 24 minutes to. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Premier.
Good evening to you.
How you do?
I am well, man. How things with you?
I am doing pretty good. But you know, for the past week, I've been calling into the show every week, right? I have to call to give my usual report. But before I give my report, I have to say that the hardest laugh I get for the year is when I hear about that ballot pickup.
Yeah, you mean? You remember ballot?
Of course.
Okay.
And I remember the pickup too.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, Mr. Premier, I wanted to call in because, you know, I've been promoting the Let's Clean Up month in the month of February for my constituency. And I have to say that it went extremely well. We would have had our final cleanup day on this past Saturday, the 26th of February, and we did the coastline cleanup. And it is amazing the volume of garbage that we got from the coastline. We would have done the coastline down in the Indian Castle and Landing Bay and Blackbay areas. We would have split up into several different groups down there, and we would have done a large section of the coastline in the Handley Road area, in the Indian Castle and surrounding areas. And we would have also done some cleaning over in the Huggins Bay area, that's over in the New River area. And so persons turned out in their numbers. I really want to thank persons who came, the volunteers who came. We had persons from the NHDS, we had persons from the Turtle Group, we had individuals, and we had a group of persons who decided they wanted to clean over the Huggins Bay area. And so down in the Indian Castle and surrounding areas, we would have had probably close to 30 persons volunteers, and over in the Huggins Bay area, we would have had close to 20 persons volunteering over there. And I was amazed because I really didn't expect so much garbage, because the coastline, I could recall I was part of a cleanup at the Indian Castle and surrounding areas in April last year, and then the NHCS would have also done a cleanup in November. And so I really didn't expect this volume of garbage, but it just shows you that ever so often we need to engage in these kind of cleanup activities. So I really want to thank all who assisted, and we actually got 2 truckloads of garbage, 1 truckload from Huggins Bay and a full truckload from Indian Castle and surrounding areas. So I want to give a hearty thank you to all who came out and participated very willingly, and all who were part of the effort. Of course, the previous Saturdays we would have done the white goods cleanup, we would have done the cleanup in the various villages, and so I really want to thank all who participated in the Let's Clean Up month. That was February, so that was a huge success. Now we are already in the month of March, and I have something else planned for the month of March. February I dubbed Let's Clean Up, and March I am dubbing Get Fit. And so I'm encouraging persons, not only in St. George's, Gingerland, but throughout Nevis. We need to do more exercises. We need to get fit. Of course, we keep hearing a lot about the NCDs, and of course, one way of fighting these NCDs is to do more exercises to get fit. And so I am encouraging persons, particularly during this month of March, and of course throughout the year, to start getting more active and to do more exercises. My main activity for this month of March will be a wellness walk, and I am dubbing the walk Your Way to Fitness. And so we will be doing the walk in Gingerland. Other persons who are not from the constituency are also welcome to come and do the walk, and that is planned for Saturday the 12th of March. Tentatively the route will be from the Butler's Health Center to Hard Times. And so I'm asking persons who will be interested in doing that walk with us to kindly contact me so I can get your name registered. So that is the 12th of March. It's not this Saturday coming up, but it's the following Saturday. And so we will be doing the wellness walk on Saturday the 12th. And so as I said, I'm dubbing this month of March get fit. So we would have done our cleanup, and now it's time to get fit. And so once again, those of you who are listening, if you're interested in doing our wellness walk on the 12th of March, kindly contact me. My numbers are 663-8941 or 662-6043. And of course, Mr. Premier, I want to thank you, of course, for accommodating me for these past weeks on your On the Mark program. And I think the word has got out very, very well. Now, this is a program that is widely listened to. This is a program that everybody listens to. And so I'm sending the message out again that for the month of March, we are focusing on getting fit.
Thank you very much. I see you're cleaning the environment and now you're ensuring that persons are fit. So
yes,
that's very important.
Indeed.
A good environment and a healthy body.
Thank
What
you,
more
sir.
can we ask for?
Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, my brother.
All right.
And I certainly will ask you to remind me to make sure that I try to be at the walk. I think that's very important. I believe we had gone and supported the Deputy Premier, Alexis Jeffers, when he had a walk there. Was excellent. And I quite enjoy that myself as a form of exercise. And so please remind me, that was the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who's doing some excellent work in the parish of St. George, his constituency, where he's working hard to not only keep the environment clean, but as he has indicated now, also to keep the people healthy. Let's go back to the phones and continue to take calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you, sir.
And how are you?
I am well, thank you.
We haven't spoken for a while. I think you're just too busy.
No, I'm never too busy for you. Yes.
Anyhow, quickly, when persons from overseas send goods home to their families in Nevis in barrels, what is the procedure at customs at the port? Do they open the barrels in front of the addressees, the persons who the barrel is addressed to, or do they open them in advance and then call the people and let them know that the barrel is there for them?
Well, I confess that I can't answer that because I don't know in my lifetime I've ever gone to the port to clear anything. What I know is that people tend to use brokers here for the most part, and the brokers would handle that and then deliver the goods to you. For those who go themselves, the process that I was aware of is that they would open your packages in front of you.
Yes. Okay.
I know that I have received parcels at the sort of when you know people order stuff online and it arrives in boxes, and I have gone to customs for that and they have opened it right in front of me.
I was really concerned about barrels, you know.
Well, I'm not sure.
And personal items, and that kind of thing.
I'm not sure, Carl. I really don't know, but I would assume, and if there's somebody out there who's working in customs who could call and clarify, that would be good.
Yeah. But you've got no complaints of anything, barrels being opened in advance of the recipients arriving at customs to collect their barrels?
Well, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah. No, because I'm saying so because I'm down here. There have been a number of calls to talk shows and that kind of thing. Persons complaining that their barrels have been opened long before they reach the customs. And there are even complaints of items missing.
Of pilfering.
What if it's a common practice between the two islands, or is just the Senkis end that is practicing that sort of behavior?
Well, I have not heard that complaint over here, I'll be honest. But as I said, I'm really uncomfortable, giving information that is not accurate. I just don't know how they do it, what the process is. But what I am aware of in terms of the parcels that I have gone, not to the port to collect, but to the parcel area where they come in, is that they open it in front of me.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, have a good evening, sir.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's 1:15. We have 15 minutes left. The numbers to call are 869-469-1616 or 1700. This is On the Mark, straight talk across the Narrows. My name is Mark Brantley, and I'm your host for this evening on this On the Mark show. We're here every Wednesday from 8 to 10 on the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, www.vonradio.com, 860 on your AM dial, or on Facebook. You go to the VON Facebook page and you can access us live. And so we're very grateful for those who have joined us tonight. We still have some time left if you want to call and be a part of the show. We were talking about the return of sports and that's very important. We are going to put again the Mondo track facility into good use, and we are very grateful that we were able to make that investment in the Mondo track facility, because that facility has, of course, been there now replacing what we used to have, which is our children running on grass, and as I said recently, if no rain was falling, actually running on dirt. And so it is a good thing now to see our young athletes performing on a first-class, internationally certified surface. And that, I think, is better for them, better for their development, fewer injuries as a result. And so we are hopeful that that facility will be pressed into greater and greater use. We know now that some people use it for exercise, some people use it in terms of just, training on a regular basis, and I think it is a wonderful investment. Every time I pass there, particularly at nights, and I see the lights are on, the facilities lit up, I see the tremendous track that we've laid there, IAAF certified 8-lane Mondo track using Mondo's latest technology at the time. I see the infield that we have there to accommodate football matches, and in fact I went there the other afternoon to see a football match. A team from St. Kitts was actually over and played a team from Nevis. Great grounds. I have said publicly that, of course, the next step is, which will be the second phase, is to build a stadium. That will come when the resources permit. But for current purposes, I'm very, very pleased when I see this facility being pressed into use, and I compare it to what was and what we used to do and what we used to have. And of course, it's a sea change, a vast improvement from where we were on the island of Nevis. And I'm proud of that. It's in my constituency. It's also a project that I championed, and I'm very, very proud that that project has come to fruition for the benefit of the people of Nevis. So I ask you to go out and support our youngsters as they engage in their sports, and as I said before, we're making plans to return the Mini Olympics to Nevis, because we know that that has been missing throughout the COVID pandemic era. Let's go back to the phones now then and say good evening. You're on the mark.
Brother Mark,
Yes, brother.
I am sure that you have heard me giving Webo his kudos.
Mm-hmm.
And also, his station has such a high rating that it cannot fall from where it is. Because Webo set a standard on his radio station that is only that and nothing less than that. And I want to commend Webo and all his team for keeping his station that. But no, I sent to ask Nevis QT to buy a box of Q-tip up there for me to clean my ear.
Mm.
And she said, anyway she go in Nevis, she can't find none. Well, it's only tonight I find out the reason why she can't find any, because your hearing senses are so sensitive that even before something is being said, you don't sense it. And right away, you're going to get it out of the way.
Mm.
And I have to commend you for that. You are a great man. Keep your program up.
Thank you, my brother. I really appreciate that. And the program is great because of people like you who call in and contribute.
And something else I had was to tell you, but that thought you're on. But anyway, let me tell you something, Brother Mark. God is always there for those who are doing good. If something is working good, it's no need for you to go with your tools so you're going to fix. Because there is nothing to be fixed. But if you go with your tools, go, so you're going to take down on your car engine because you're working good, and that is not the car that's going up the hill. Boop, 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 boop.
Mm-hmm.
That means you are of the devil looking for things that is not there. To say, well, see here, this is why this ain't working, and everything is working good. And all because of politics. But Brother Mark, let me tell you something. You are doing great in Nevis, and nobody could move you from there. With the propaganda and the foolishness where they come in on the radio, all kind of platform being used to humiliate people and say all kind of derogative things about people to see if they could bring them down. Not while me culture could talk. I'm going to defend. I am going to defend righteousness and condemn wrong things. Have a good night, Brother Mark.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's on the mark. We have 10 minutes. What are we going to do in this 10 minutes? We're going to take some calls. Please call in. Let me know what's on your mind, what you have to say. And we're in a season now, and caller, you're right. I'm not going to sit here and let people come with fabrications. I don't mind, as I say. My friend Giro called in and he gave a perspective, and I could understand that. These are conversation, mature conversation that reasonable people can engage in. I am, however, not going to sit here and allow anybody to use this platform for lies and fabrication. And so when I hear people calling and talking nonsense, but we receive container of goods that we did not use, the thing just sounds so foolish to me that I don't even know why any sensible person would make that kind of call. Because that's the kind of propaganda that's put out there. You go on Facebook, you say the water is contaminated and people are dying. That's the kind of foolishness that you put out there. And if these things are not addressed, they can take on a life of their own. And people start to feel like, well, okay, that is the reality. That is not the reality. That is far from the reality. No investment in healthcare in Nevis. You see the long list I read out tonight? I did so for a purpose. Because too often we're doing a lot and perhaps not enough is being said. And so I think that that's important. The health sector is being politicized by those who are seeking to use it for some kind of gain. And I don't know what gain it is, because every election they bring up the same thing. Dialysis, dialysis, dialysis. And every election they lose bigger. So it tells you that it's not resonating with people. And I realize the opposition in Nevis is scrambling. Lord of mercy, they're looking for something. Anything. Anything. I see them put out a letter that I wrote must be 15 years ago when I was a lawyer, and sent to the government about some monies that were owed to Anguilla. And they read the letter, they read every comma and every full stop. You know how to read a full stop, caller? Read a full stop, read every comma. And I said, well, if you got to go back 15 years for a letter that you don't read 100 times in past elections, then that means that we are doing an excellent job in Nevis, because you don't have nothing to say. You don't have nothing to say. One of them up and down now going around telling people. I went in Bath Village the other day, the metropolis of Bath. I spoke to a young man in Bath. The young man told me, Mr. Brantley, do you know that 33% of people in St. John's are poor? I said, no, I don't know. I've never seen any such statistic. He said, well, that's what one person coming around campaigning. You're going to people to campaign, and your campaign to them is that they're poor. And it's the government's fault. That's the campaign. That 33% of them, 1 in every 3, is poor. And it's the government's fault. How do those things even begin to make sense? How? We all live in Nevis, you know. I am not suggesting that poverty does not exist in Nevis. Poverty exists everywhere. If you read your Bible and you know your Bible, the poor are spoken to in the Bible over and over. So poverty exists in this world. In the richest nations in the world, it exists. I went to Washington, D.C., the heart of the biggest, most powerful and richest country in the world, and saw poor people, homeless people. It exists. And when we try to go out and paint some picture of utopia and say to people that somehow miraculously, if I were elected, there will be no more poverty, everybody will be drinking milk and honey, that is not the case. Even when Jesus Christ walked this earth, there was poverty. He spoke to it. So I find that sometimes the level at which we engage is regrettable. Because while some are going out there telling potential voters, you are poor, and you're poor because the government has you poor. If I were the voter, I would turn around and ask, you are now over 60 years old. Could you tell us what you have ever done to hire 2 people? You ever set up a little business, sell 2 Freco? At least if you sell 2 Freco, you could have said, I hired 2 youngsters, one to put on the green juice and one to put on the red juice, and the Freco, the syrup. One to group the ice. Let me talk some division now. One to group the ice, group, pack the ice in the thing, and another one to put on the red syrup. Not even that you all could claim. But you're telling people they're poor. Well, if you have all the education in the world, you have had all the advantages in the world, you have had all the opportunities in the world, and you have done nothing to help your fellow man to get out of poverty. What right do you have now to go and tell them that they're poor? And you don't help them. And you're no longer a youth. So, what is the point here? Somebody holding? Let me go back to the phone. I have 5 minutes. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Premier.
You're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
I'm a first-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome to the show.
First of all, let me thank you for the great job you're doing for the people of Nevis. I listened to you tonight with giving you a report and also talking about health care. Now, as a consumer, I don't live in Nevis. I don't live in Nevis, but as a consumer of health services, I can tell the people of Nevis, healthcare is a very expensive proposition, and they ought to be grateful for the type of government they have. There are some things that can be provided, but the population is too small to support it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm thankful that where I live because I've survived 3 strokes in my lifetime.
Oh my goodness.
Just last week, they removed a device from my chest that was there for 3 years because the battery won. And I was shocked yesterday when I learned that piece of device that the set that was 25 cent piece cost $15,000.
$15,000. Wow.
And plus the cost of the surgery. So the thing is, what people in Nevis and things have to understand that because the population is so small, a lot of these facilities, the population can't support it because the government's responsibility is to do the greatest good for the greatest number. And with the limited dollars you have available to you, as you try to make use of that in a responsible manner, some people are going to get left out. Therefore, they need to take responsibility for their own actions and get the insurance, the proper insurance, and go up and for health care. That is no reflection of the government of Nevis or St. Kitts. It's the reality that you're in a small community, and because of that, there's something you can't have because it is too expensive. I will not say that you don't care or the CCM don't care. The reality is that, for example, in 1990, I had a procedure done on my prostate. At that time, one piece of equipment they used for me in that process was $6 million. US.
Mm.
I asked the doctor about putting a clinic in the world, and he said to me, if he had the only clinic in the Caribbean, based on the cost of that clinic and the population of the Caribbean, could not justify the expenditure. So people in Nevis have to be thankful for what they can provide. Recognize that there's small size in population does not allow Nevis to be able to do everything.
Okay.
It's nice that you have this unit, and people need to understand that the government of Nevis and the new administration is doing the best it can, and will continue to be responsible. But people have to recognize that because of the size of the population, there's something that they just can't have it. Because Nevis can't afford it because of its small size of population.
Okay.
That's how I say. God bless you, and thanks for the good work you're doing.
All right. Thank you so much, Carl, and thank you for making that very, very valid point. In fact, I was in New York recently, and in a particular area, they said to me that if they had certain kinds of trauma, they had a trauma center someplace else, that they would have to take people by helicopter. So it's not every small town or small area has access to the full scale of medical care, and in a lot of states you have small pockets of populations. The size of Nevis really would just be a blip in America. They wouldn't have that level of care. You'd have to go to the city center or something like that. So the point you're making is very valid and very well made. I am happy that you are a survivor of stroke and that you sound well, and I wish you all the best in terms of your continued good health, sir, wherever you are. God bless you. That's our show. The banner struck up. It means I have to go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you for all who participated. Thank you for all who were part of the show this evening. I'm truly, truly grateful. It is always good to engage with our people here on the Mark. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Vaughan Radio. Good night and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the power